Shalom and welcome. I am so excited that you've joined us today, and we're going to continue to offer to you these wonderful teachings. If you're enjoying them, please give us a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button today. All right, today you're going to hear wonderful truths on how to transform loneliness. Today we're going to look at the concept of a word in its pre-Babylonian existence, meaning it was a picture before it became letters. In other words, this word for loneliness is ancient. That must mean, Dar, then that throughout all of life's span, people have experienced the emotion of loneliness.
I think we can see several times of that, especially in Scripture. And yet, when we break this word down into its picture form, it's very interesting about the two doors that are mentioned in this word in picture form. So the word that we're going to talk about, loneliness, is the word called in Hebrew, boded. It's B-O-D-E-D. And again, if you're spelling that with the Hebrew letters, it would be a Beit, a Vav, a Dalet, and a Dalet, and you say it boded. And when we break that down into its ancient form, whenever you have two letters, the same letters together, in a Hebrew word, or even two words together in Hebrew, it always means pay attention to this.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And so this one has two D's at the end of it. So this means pay attention to it. And so if we just took the definition of loneliness in Hebrew, meaning boded, what does it mean? It means to be by yourself, alone, separated from other interactions or other kinds of stimulation.
It also means, Dar, to be separated from yourself.
Come on.
Do you realize that if you're lonely, first of all, it's not first about others. You're separated from a part of yourself.
Right. That is so important for us to understand, Yana. That's why there are two D's or two Dalets in this. So if we just took the word picture, it would mean a house connected to two doors.
Oh, there you go.
That's it right there. So we know, again, from our time on the word trust, that inside of the house is a support system. And sometimes you can be inside of a house and be pretty lonely inside of the house.
True.
But one of the things that we have to understand is that when you go into the house, you're connected to the house, and you go into the house and you find yourself alone. This is door number one, if you will. And when you go through that door, you begin to find yourself in a lonely place, and you start this ticker tape inside of your head of, I'm feeling all alone, I'm all by myself, even though your house may be filled with activity, filled with people. And if you continue down that road, that is where you become separated or alienated from yourself, and you fail to see door number two. And so, Yana, I want you to talk about this concept of door number one and door number two, and the process of moving from one door of loneliness to the next door of hope.
Yes. Door number one, what's behind it? Sometimes it's not so good. So let me say this. Life happens, right? We've all had those moments of loneliness. Loneliness often begins on the inside with our thoughts that are like, they don't understand me. Nobody gets where I'm coming from. No one knows what it's like for me. I'm not heard. I'm not seen. And the end result of those statements, is that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the greatest things we have to do is acknowledge the reality of the feelings. And this is what I do. When those feelings come up, I say this: I love and bless those feelings, but they're only thoughts. And I let them pass right through me. You don't have to stay with those thoughts. As a matter of fact, if you stay with those thoughts, you're going to remain in door number 1.
That's good.
You cannot move to joined and belonging and understood and valued and heard from the place of not valued, not heard. It's too big of a jump.
That's good.
And so when we're in the place and the reality, and by the way, when you start to think certain thoughts, evidence shows up in your life to confirm it. That's just the way the world works. So if I begin to think the reality is I am alone, there isn't somebody that I feel loves me. The reality of that is you can't get from that place to the place you want to be. Boom, here's this one who adores me and loves me. So this is what we do. We begin to become the person that we're longing to have in our lives. We begin to become to ourselves that wonderful, understanding, caring, seeing, validating person. We begin to provide that for ourselves. It's like this: we're packing our bags and going to move out of door 1 to move to door 2.
That's it.
And what happens is that we begin to transform the negative energy that's going out to the universe. I'm not understood. I'm not cared about. Which, when we do that, what energy does that draw back? Something to confirm that.
That's so good.
But we begin to say, you know what, Yana, we get in the mirror and we do some mirror work. I think we talked about that on our first YouTube. And we begin to say, I love you. I understand you. And try not to say, and no one else does. We already got that. That's already been there. It doesn't do anything for us. If that thought comes up, I love that thought. I bless that thought. But here's another thought. I am kind to myself. I do some self-care. I say good things about myself. I don't look and notice that I've gained a few extra pounds, or maybe more than a few. That doesn't help me at all. I begin to say, I just love myself as I am. I value myself. And I begin to be my own best friend. Now, what that does, it doesn't mean I don't need anybody. I don't care. I'm all by myself.
Come on.
Because that will only bring on a whole nother set of emotions. Depression, isolation, anger, resentment. That's the doorway to that. But we're moving, we're transforming from loneliness to being joined, to being deeply valued and deeply cared about. And so as we do that, we begin to become our own best friend, because we can't get from lonely to joined. But we can move from lonely to, I like myself. I'm going to sit down tonight and I'm going to have a wonderful bath and a nice glass of wine, because it's always a good reason to have a nice glass of wine. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to be in nature. I love trees. Trees love me. I have animals. I love being with my animals. Maybe there's one person that you know loves you, and so you could send a text to them and they would say something nice back. But you begin to transform that. In other words, you're not just sitting down in the house of loneliness and your internal talk and your feelings are dwelling in that house. You are moving out of that house by moving your thoughts, moving your feelings, which will change your words. Stop telling the story of your loneliness and start telling the story of the things that are meaningful in your life. Because here's the deal. If you are broken, if you are needy, guess who you're going to attract into your life? Someone who's broken and someone who's needy. And then you'll wish you'd never done that. Maybe for a moment you get a big dopamine rush and, here is Mr. Wonderful, or Mrs. Wonderful, or the new best friend. But if they came into your life when you were in this broken, negative, depressed state, that is not going to work out. And so you want to transform your energy. How do you do that? Changing what you think about, which changes your feelings, which changes your words. Stop telling the story. Pack your bags. You're moving out of the house of loneliness. You're going to become the very person that you dream about being with. You become it first. And then what will you attract? You'll attract that person, that healthy, that whole, that positive person into your life that's exciting, that's stable, that is emotionally able to give and to receive from you. And you will create the life that you've always dreamed of. There's 2 doors in the house of loneliness, Darla.
Yeah.
The first door is?
The first door is just staying in that state of being separated, of being disconnected. And I think that's what you're talking about, Yana. Whenever you say change your thoughts, you're talking about reconnecting with who you are.
That's right.
So that you can move through door number 2.
That's right. If you reconnect with yourself, you'll connect with the person that you've dreamed of. If you'll be the person you've dreamed of, they will walk into your life. Now look, we drop the how, when, where, and why.
Right.
Don't say, I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to meet Mr. Lettuce. I don't know, whatever. It's so stupid. Stupid Hebrew humor, right? We're going to go to the store and we're going to be with ourselves and we're going to have a wonderful time. And you don't if you start designing the how, when, and where, you've undone the energetic pathway that causes what we want to manifest more quickly.
That's good.
How does something manifest? By how we think and how we feel, which begins to develop the words that we say, first about ourselves and then about our world. The old story is over. The new story begins. We take care of ourselves. We reconnect with ourselves.
Come on.
And we become whole, and then wholeness joins our life in the form of another wonderful relationship or friendship. There's 2 doors. Let's move from door number 1 to door number 2.
That's really good.
Listen, if you're enjoying these YouTubes, would you just give us a thumbs up? We'd love for you to subscribe. We're here every week with a new topic. We're teaching about emotional wellness this month, and our perspective is the Hebraic perspective, the Jewish perspective. I lived in Israel for a number of years, and Darla, you've been there innumerable amount of time living there as well. And so we're bringing that to you, and we know that these kinds of truths, these kinds of helps will make your life even more beautiful. Thanks for listening. Thumbs up to us. Thumbs up to you, Dar.
Thumbs up, right.
All right, I'm Dr. Yana Sanders.
I'm Darla Fields.
And together we are the Hebrew Sisters.